All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. So I will start by letting you guys know that as we go on, I'm going to post a few links in the chat. I include the link to the slides, some frequently asked questions, how to download your CEU certificate following the webinar, our ABA webinar calendar, and then our mental health calendar as well that have free webinars for parents and professionals. So in the chat now are all of those links. You may have to copy and paste them. And then as we get started, we are going to post the codes needed for you to get your CEUs on the screen, and we will verbally say them. They'll be on the screen for a few minutes, for a few seconds. We're going to verbally say them. We're going to point out that they're there, and then we're going to move on. Once we move on, we are not going to repeat them again. So make sure you jot them down, text them to somebody, do what you need to do, make sure you have them. You do need to stay for the entire webinar, collect both of your CEU code words, and then get the link to the survey that will be sent at the end in order to get your CEU certificate. The slides are in the chat, and the recording, which is also available for CEUs, will be posted within 2 weeks of the webinar. And it'll also be posted on our ABA webinar calendar page. So I will send those links one more time for anybody who just joined last minute. Perfect. And Vincent, if you'd like, you can move forward.
We'll move forward. Okay, I'm going to move forward. Do you want me to take it from here?
I am going to take this one quick, and I will let you take over in just a little bit. You have a lot of talking to do tonight, so I will take over for a little bit.
All right.
Vincent is going to be talking about utilizing the S.M.A.R.T method when goal setting for our students. So we're going to get to that a little bit later, but before we get into that, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about MPG. Perfect. Thank you.
You got it.
Right, everyone. Well, welcome to MPG's CEU webinar series. For those of you that are new, we've been having the webinar series since 2021. So we are on our second year of providing free CEUs to parents and professionals. So whether you're here live or you're watching it on the recording on our asynchronous platform, we're glad that you're all here, and we're very excited to learn from Vincent tonight. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our team. We are a multidisciplinary team of over 200 dedicated professionals, including adult and child psychologists, neuropsychologists, board-certified behavior analysts, and special educators. As a multidisciplinary team, we are dedicated to wraparound care, which includes our mental health services, neuropsychological testing services, ABA and behavioral interventions, as well as educational services. The holistic approach does allow for us to address various needs and challenges with compassion and care for all of our students and patients that we see. Throughout this slide, you will see the variety of services that we offer, which can be provided in homes, in schools, in the community. Out of our Upper West Side office, we serve clients throughout the 5 boroughs, and we also have an office in Long Island City. We also provide telehealth services for various patients as well. We do serve individuals, couples, and families of all ages and in diverse settings and populations. We are pleased to offer all of our free monthly webinars, both for parents and professionals, to disseminate knowledge amongst everyone. All right, can you go? Thank you.
Next one. All right, I gotcha.
Awesome, thank you. At MPG, our vision is to create a future where individuals and their families feel supported, connected, and empowered.
Okay.
Yep. No worries. And then our mission is to provide multidisciplinary integrated support for individuals and their families who experience mental health, behavioral, and educational challenges.
Hey, that's me.
That is you. Vincent works for us at MPG and is a great demonstration of our mission and vision and our values. And we are so excited to have him here tonight to disseminate information with all of us. So thank you, Vincent.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Right. Should I take it from here?
Yes, it is all yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So let's start here. Today, we're going to be talking about the goal setting for our students and using the S.M.A.R.T method. And when we're talking about for goal setting, it's not necessarily us setting the goals for them. It's them setting the goals for themselves. So this is a technique that I do use with a lot of my adolescent and adult students to help executive functioning skills, such as goal setting. And I'll explain why. Okay. first things first, here's the objectives for today. We're gonna talk about understanding what self-determination is. Now, before I go into this, a lot of the work that I've done has been with students who are adolescents and they're transitioning, well, and adults, and they're transitioning out of school. So there's a lack of support there, where they need to be self-determined so they can live a more successful life. So that's why we're going to be talking about understanding self-determination and the importance of teaching goal-setting skills to our students that we work with. Okay, we're going to talk about how to, so if you guys are practitioners, how to utilize the ABA techniques, so we can learn how to take data on skill acquisitions following these principles, and then understand how to teach the skill. So we're going to learn how to teach the SMART method to the students to achieve independence on self-direction. So I kind of want to just put that out there of like, we're going to be talking about what self-direction is, what self-determination is, and why it's important for setting goals, especially when our students transition out of school, out of the school settings, where there's a little bit less support. So has anybody, I guess I'll ask before the poll, does anybody know what self-determination or self-direction is? You can just type yes. No. Oh, okay. Sarah, excellent, excellent. Uh-oh, I don't know what I just did. Okay, perfect. Yes, yep, yes, yes. All right, excellent. And for all of us who are saying yes, 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 do you guys agree with what self-determination and self-direction is and understand the importance of it? Excellent. Okay, someone said nope. Rebecca, I got you. I will do my best to explain it as best as possible, and see why we're going to be moving in that direction. It is, yes, yes, excellent, excellent, good. All right, I'm glad a lot of people do know what it is. Application is the issue. You are 100% correct, and this is why we're going to be talking about goal setting for our kids, and having them be a part of their future, right? We don't want to be the people who are like, oh, you need to do this, oh, you need to do this, oh, you need to do this. Once they get out of school, the BCBAs who are working with them in the school are not going to be making the goals, of course, with collaborations with them, but the students are going to be the ones making the goals for themselves. And they have to also understand what their goals are. And we're going to talk about the difference between high self-determination and high independence, and how we want kind of both of them, because it's a difference. There is a difference between self-determination and independence. And yes, being motivated by the individual. I saw someone wrote that. That's usually what the self-determination model is based on, is like the intrinsic motivation. So them doing things that they want to do. So it would be our job to help support them in getting to that and understanding how to achieve that, because executive functioning skills in itself is extremely hard. And for students who are on the spectrum, it's a little bit harder for them. It's a little bit harder for them, on average. Okay, let's see. All right, so Paul, have you guys, ooh, I didn't even see this pop up. Have you guys ever worked, or are you guys currently working with students who have transitioned out of school? So I know a lot of people work with students and kiddos are a little bit on the younger side, that are still in school, but have you worked with the transitioning of these students? Okay, so, ooh. Past experience with transition students, excellent. I see a lot, no experience. Mentioned at the high school. Yes, contriving situations is very hard, Marianne, and we're going to be talking about that, because I do contrive a lot of situations, and that's why you want to start them. I don't want to say start them young. They have to have like the prerequisite skills to understand it, but once they understand the prerequisite skills, it's really, you could contrive the situations in sessions and teach the parents to do that as well. It's going to be very important to allow them to be independent. So that prompting and that fading is going to be extremely important for our adults, okay, our students. Okay, so some of you guys, so majority of you guys, or higher percentage of you guys, had past experience You got 34% have no experience, which is fine. That is a big gap here on Long Island. I'm all the way on Long Island. And some of you guys currently work with that. Excellent. Should I press stop sharing if I'm going to move to the next one? I'm going to.
It should be stopped now. I just
Okay.
stopped them.
All right. And part of this open-ended question, I'm going to look in the chat as well.
Yeah.
If you guys, for the people who have past experiences, or people who just know people who are transitioning, who are transition students, or currently working with them, do you guys have, like, what kind of supports do you think that they need during this time in their life? Like, what do you guys see that, yes, functional living skills, that's a lot that I see as well. Job skills, working with my student right now on job. Social skills, that's a very, very important skill. Time management, job skills, that's a lot of things that I see. It's a lot of job skills, right? Vocational training, being self-motivated. Yeah, the intrinsic motivation is very important. Adaptive behavior, vocational skills, yeah, communication skills, budgeting, paycheck. These are all great skills that they need, right? Because the supports, at least here in New York, when you transition, you don't get as much support. Executive functioning skills, that's a great one. That's exactly what the goal setting is that we're going to be talking about. Maintaining relationships. Yeah, these are all great things, because once they leave school, they don't have the amount of support that they normally have, right? So they need that skill. And I talk about this as, like, I don't know if anybody watches sports, right? So let's say you have a basketball player, right? Phenomenal basketball player in high school and college, and he goes to NBA and he doesn't do as well, right? We want to have our students know all the foundational skills, so when they go in transition, so they go into the NBA, we get to LeBron them. They get to be like the best that they can be in that situation. So I see the poll on the screen, but I don't see where. Oh no, I think we stopped sharing it. If you want to respond real quick, you could let me know.
Polls are also not required to gain your CEUs. So you only need the code words. You do not need to respond to polls in order to get your CEUs. Okay.
That's a great. So you do not need to respond to the polls if you do not want to. Okay. I'm going to exit. Can I exit out of the poll real quick? Just press X. Or will that, like, mess up anything? Okay, great. I didn't want to mess up anything. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so self-determination. This is like the bread and butter of students transitioning, right? Or let me take that back. Of our students, right? They need to be able to make choices for themselves and manage their own lives. But when they transition, they want to have this skill, right? We want to be able, as practitioners and people who support our students, to work towards this. All right. We don't want them to be dependent on us, because when we're not there, they need to be confident that they're able to handle these situations. So it's the ability to make their own choices and manage their own lives. So this, right, is more intrinsically motivating. So this is, you're not getting an external reward for it. It makes you feel good because you accomplished things. Promotes individuality, and it's socially significant for the student. That's a really big, it's part of the dimensions, right, of ABA. So we want something that is socially significant for the student. It builds towards independent living. So if they have an idea of where they want to go and by their choices, they're able to, we want them to able to do it independently, so they could have a fulfilling life. It's not our life that we're providing for them, it's their life that we're supporting for them. And there's more control for our students. So it covers many areas for the students, from planning to decision-making to goal setting. And that's what we're going to be diving into a little bit here, okay? Because again, people brought this up in the chat, was executive functioning skills. Vocational skills is a very important part of this as well, especially when you transition out. So how the self-determined learning model of instructions, or the SDLMI, is, it's just a model that teaches students to engage in self-directed activities and create their goals. So we want them to do these activities that they want to do and teach them how they could create their goals, give themselves a direction, and then like provide the tools for them so they could achieve it themselves. So like when we're not with them, they do it themselves. Sorry, let me just, okay. Oh no, you can log in on another phone, right? If someone's phone's about to die, are they able to log in with another phone? I just saw that in the chat. I don't know.
You sure can. Yep.
Okay, you sure can. All right, don't worry. I did not say the first code yet, so Allah, I hope I'm not saying that wrong. Yes, you can log in. You got it. So for goal setting, we'll be reviewing the models, right, of the approach of independence and setting the goal, taking action, and eventually self-monitoring. So self-monitoring is going to be very important because we're not going to be the ones to like be on top of them at all times. They have to do it themselves. And that's going to be a part when you grow into teaching it. You want to make sure that they're learning how to self-monitor themselves. Sorry, my baby was crying. Got thrown off a little bit. Okay, self-management. So that, whoa, how do I go back? Take me back. Got it. Self-management. Goal setting is part of big part, self-management, managing yourself. It is an intervention that is used in ABA to help students achieve things independently. Okay, so it includes modifications, so set up modifications for any of their needs. Self-monitoring, which we spoke about before. So they're like, hey, I check out my data. So whatever we do for them, we want them to do for themselves. So when BCBAs, I don't know if there's some parents here, we create some goals with them. We take the data and we able to reflect on the data. We want them to be their own little BCBAs for themselves. So that's where the self-monitoring comes in, and the reward system is, hey, I did this, I'm going to reward myself with something. Or the reward is, hey, I accomplished something, but I'm going to be the one to reward myself. I'm not going to be the one to, hey, great job, Tommy. Here, go on your iPad, right? If he wants to go watch a YouTube video after studying for 30 minutes, he does the 30 minutes, not going to do anything. He earned it and he goes by himself. He does not need my permission at that point. So the student is responsible for their planning, right? This is building their independence, and self-management is considered evidence-based. So that's why we use it. So evidence-based, I'm just leaving these quotes here. So self-management intervention, this just goes into why it's important and how it promotes independence. And it decreases the reliance on us, right? The support from others. Now people need support. We're interdependent, right? But we don't want to be fully dependent on people. So that's the whole purpose behind self-management. So we got to make sure that once we teach our students whatever we need to teach them, we want to make sure that we fade this, okay? So they don't become dependent on the prompts. And that's what we'll be going over on how to establish it for the SMART goal. And so research over the last 25 years showed that the model that I spoke about with each students, even without disabilities, to reach goals, it works. 2020 research studies have shown the impact of it. And yes, it is considered evidence-based practice as well to support and promote self-determination. All right. So this is the why. So why do we do this, guys? Now, young people, and we spoke about this in the chat, right? They're very ambitious. They want to do things, right? They can't, but the poor transition, right? The outcome of the poor transition, they might want a job, but they don't know how to go about getting a job. They don't know about job applications. They don't know about interviewing. They don't know these things, but they might say, hey, I want a job. And that would be our support to be like, oh, this is how we do it. So unemployment's very high amongst our students. You guys spoke about that, the vocational skills, right? Participation in further education, meaning going into trade school or college. One of my students, he's going into a trade school for pharmacology tech, pharmacy tech, for pharmacy tech. So he's going in for pharmacy tech. And we kind of went over like how to do it and why you want to do it and how, you know, how we could build steps to achieving that. And there's, whoa, Uh-oh. Got it. Fix it. Nope, did not fix it. Okay, fixed it. Sorry, my chat was all over the place. And low rates of independent living, meaning they might not live by themselves or with the roommate, and they need their family for the support. And there's very few friendships. I know a lot of us talked about social skills, right? There's their socialization. So some of them might say, hey, I want friends, but they don't know how to get friends. I'm gonna bring up like my student, we were goal setting. He's like, hey, I want to get involved in meeting new people. So we went on Meetup, which is it's a place where you could find people who are, it's not like a dating site, but where you could find like places that, have you guys ever heard of Meetup? I'm trying to like, yes, you use Meetup. Thank you. I was like, I use Meetup too. So the way it sounds is not, the way it sounds is not what it really is. It's just where people with similar interests might set up a time and a location to meet up. Hey, this whole group, we're gonna go here. So me and my student, we went. He wanted to do an anime meetup. There's one in the city, and we went. He met a lot of people. We were only supposed to stay for 2 hours. We stayed for 7 hours. He ended up playing Dungeons and Dragons with the guys. And I was like, I had to support that. I was like, do your thing. And he did it independently. He got their numbers. They play Dungeons and Dragons online now. So it's like, it's really interesting because before the goal setting, he didn't really know how to do any of that. He's like, oh, I don't really know what to do to meet people. So I showed him how to research it. I showed him, I gave him some tips, but I let him do it independently. I was like, hey, you find something that you like. If you need support, I'm here to help. And then he found it. He's like, hey, how do we get here? I had to teach him how to use GPS. But the thing is, we went together and now he does it by himself, which is amazing. So it's like, it was amazing. So I still like, I'm like, every time I talk about it, I get like so happy. I'm like, you're the best. So I get like very happy for him. And I want that for everybody. I want that for all my students, especially like he transitioned. So he transitioned out of high school. He's like I said, he's going to pharmacy tech school. But it took a long time. It took a long time to understand, like, these kind of things take time, like to really understand, like, how do I set goals? Like, do we have goals? You guys, like, in the chat, tell me if you guys have any goals, or do you guys set your own goals, or is it just like very vague, right? Yes, we all have goals, right? We have goals. Yeah, we have, right? And we need a direction for the goals, right? Goals are imperative. I agree with this. So the whole thing, like, with goals, right? Goals and data, exactly. You might seem like, hey, it's working, but it might not be working. It might not be working. Very empowering. I agree with that 100%. It's very empowering because it is difficult to keep up, but this is the thing. So you want to gradually get into it, right? You want to gradually get into building the momentum for ourselves and our students, right? Which I'll talk about too later, of showing them, modeling them. So me and my student, when we set our goals every time during session, I set a goal too for the session. Like, hey, I want to yada 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 for before the end of the session, right? I want to, I don't know, we pick something for the end of the session, right? And then he does something like that, right? Yeah, all right. So it's very important. So I don't want to spend too much time on this slide. And then we're just talking about this again. Whoa. Let me move this over. I'm sorry, I'm gonna move the chat over. I can't see my face, but that's okay. So teaching these skills with students with disabilities can really improve both behavior and academic achievement while having lasting impact on life outcomes. And this is specifically, and the reason this is why I chose this was goal setting is highly useful and transferable, right? It could enhance their, can't copy the above. Someone cannot copy the above for some reason.
I'll get it, Vincent. No worries.
Okay, no problem. So it enhances motivation, increases access to curriculums, and promotes independence while improving, like we said before, academics and behavior, but improving a lot of skills in general. Okay, so I talked about the difference between self-determination and the difference between independence. You could be highly self-determined, but have low independence, right? So like reading this is like, they might live at home, but they're not able to work. So they make decisions of certain areas of their life, and they're encouraged to do things, but they might not have independence in certain aspects of their life. But they have choices. We kind of want to move. So talk about progression. Like we might not think that our students could become self-determined and highly independent. But I really think that if you give them an opportunity, you'd be very surprised at the outcome that you could get. So if we move towards that direction, so if you have a student who has low self-determination and low independence, so someone tells them what to do and gives them the goals and they can't do it, but they need support throughout, and we can move them to being, hey, let me get some choices, right? I want to do this. I might need help, but I want to do this. So we can start moving along the gradients to where they're highly self-determined and they're highly independent, right? I believe that with a lot of our students, we could really achieve this kind of outcome. I think if we have the slides are there is a resource with a toolkit so you could see this on their website. It's a great tool. So the process. Individuals have to have a change in their responsibilities as they grow. So when they're 3 years old, it's much different than when they're 19 years old, right? Their responsibilities change. That means their goals change, right? I mean, think of us. When I was 10 years old, 12 years old, what I wanted to do is much different than what I wanted to do now. I didn't always want to be a BCBA. I chose that much later in life. I was very happy with being, working in self-direction with my students. I was very happy with that. But then it changed. I was like, hey, I would like to supervise. I would like to, build plans for a lot of my students with them, of course. And it's not geared towards toddlers because this is more along the lines of a niche, I would say, that needs to be addressed, which is those teenage years into adulthood. Because like I said, I deal with a lot of students who are adults that I feel for them, especially when I first meet them, that they're like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want this, but I don't know how to get this, right? And like, if I leave them to their own accord, will they do it? I don't know. It depends on the assessments, but I see that's a lot of the issues: the vocational skills, the social skills outside of school, right? Like we might the generalization of social skills. Being social in school and being social on a job site is much different, right? You can be you act very different with your friends, but when you act with your coworkers, it should be a little bit different, right? So generalizing those kind of skills. So I left a bunch of skills here, right? So again, children, right? Others manage and direct these goals and skills. Again, as much support, as much input from them as possible. But a lot of us are like, hey, these are the academic goals, these are, the social goals, yada, yada, all these goals for the students, right? Their IEPs, their school IEPs. But with adults, we're not going to get that for them, right? They need to be self-directed and manage their own goals and skills, right? So that's a big component. So the prerequisite for goal setting. So when they're young, these are really good things to teach them, right? Because it will translate later in life. So if you guys work with youngins, these are really good skills to have, right? So these prerequisite skills help with the goal setting process. So the ability to make choice, I think this is crucial at like almost any age, and the ability that they're able to make their minds. You provide them with 2 choices or more choices eventually, but you want to provide them with choices. Hey, do you want to do this or do you want to do this? To give them the confidence that what they chose is fine, right? It's okay. Like a lot of the times when I assess students, they're not able to make their own decisions. Or when they're provided choices, they're not sure. They're very they're like, I don't know if this is the right answer. So that's a really big thing. That's also part of like the emotional regulation and flexibility. Like if something goes wrong, like if you don't reach your goal, it's okay. So our goal as practitioners or parents or anybody who works with these students is to make whatever we're doing fun for the students and positive experience, right? if they fail at something, it's okay. What can we learn from this? Right? It's not a big deal. Right? It's not a big deal. Time management. So that's another thing. Once we make the goal, we have to manage our time, right? So it's like, by the end of this is where I want my goal to be. And ability to communicate their wants and needs. So a lot of some students might need different supports for their wants and needs to communicate, right? Some of them are verbal, some of them are not verbal. And the support that we give them to further later on in life, whether it be the Autobox or PECs or anything where they could show, hey, this is what I need. It's going to be very, very, very important for them to state what they want. Because if they can't tell you what they want, then how are we going to know how to set up these goals? I see a hand up. I'm not sure how to address it. Alejandra, you have your hand up. If you want to type in the if you want to type in the chats, you're more than welcome, and I will do my best to. I don't know how that just happened. Okay, we're back. More than welcome to type in the chat. I'll do my best to answer it. So barriers, there are barriers to goal setting. And this is kind of what I touched on with the prerequisites. Active participation in person-centered planning. I don't know if you guys heard of person-centered planning. This is really big in the self-direction space. When they transition, they set up what they want their life to look like, all right? So on the spectrum, it could be like low expectation of self-determined behavior. So we want to expect them to achieve success. We don't want to protect them from failure. We want to support them when they fail, but we're not trying to protect them their whole life. They need to be resilient, and we need to be there to support them and show them how to be resilient. A reduced capacity to communicate, and we spoke about that before, both in choices and how to communicate, right? Take me a risk. Very nice. And desires due to social and communication challenges and social anxiety. A lot of our students, when things are done for them and they don't have that support, they don't know what to do. They get anxious about the outcome and they're like, what's going on? That's why we have to allow them to be independent, to show them that, hey, life is going to be all right. You have support and it's okay to fail. So this is going to be our role. Okay, so again, this is going to be geared toward teaching them, not us creating the goals, but teaching them how to create the goals. So our role is to act as support and make experience of goal setting fun. So if they say something like, so this is what goes on the next thing. So we don't want to discourage them from goals, right? We want to help support them in an appropriate way. We want to give them feedback. We don't want to criticize them. We don't want to say something's bad, right? We just got to say, hey, why don't we try something like this, right? So we want to provide some sort of insight on how to make something better without saying that to them, right? Criticism really doesn't offer any solutions. We want to kind of offer a solution. So if our students like, hey, I want to be an NFL football player. Okay, this isn't possible. I don't want to be the one to say that, but we don't say you can't do that, right? Again, we want to make sure that, hey, when I tell you something, I'm not just going to shoot it down, right? Have people do, yes. And Ala, I know the issue in your country. I don't know where you're from. I think there's a lot of places where kids have people doing everything for them, and I think it stems, and this is just anecdotal. I have no idea. Oh, Saudi Arabia, okay. Not everywhere, but little pockets of places like people who are not trained, they will. So in self-determination or self-directed field, we have a lot of people who do not necessarily have to be trained to work with adults, where they might just do everything for them. That's where I started. That's why I initially got my BCBA, is within self-direction. You're allowed to have a supervisor to teach these people, to teach the ComHab workers or direct support professionals, whatever you guys call the people, teach them how to utilize these techniques, right? To promote the independence. We don't do everything for them. So I understand there's a lot of help in some areas. I get that. I do get that. I see that sometimes too, where I'm like, just let them do it. And if you need to help them, you help them. I have a student who was like, he's not really, his communication skills could be better. And oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I know. I don't want to run out of time. So you can't say, don't do that. Just say, hey, let's research some things. Let's volunteer and let's see how we get there, right? And by the time they do it, they might like, hey, I might just want to work for like a sports team rather than I want to be an NFL football player. They might not understand. They're like, hey, I like football, right? I want to be an NFL football player. They might just like watching football or being part of like working at a stadium, right? So we support that, right? We're like, let's research, let's see what kind of things we have to do to get to that point. So you support as much as possible at first, and then fade your assistance. As we talked about this just earlier, we do not want to do everything for the person. And once we start doing everything for the person, stop doing it, but systematically stop. So they're able to do, okay. Intervention steps. Brainstorm. So this is where you don't have the specific goals yet. You want to think of some goals. What do I want to do? I want to get a job. That's a great starting point, right? So that's when we have to start defining the goal. We have to express what we want. We have to plan the goal. We have to measure the process. I didn't say the code yet. Don't worry, I didn't say the code yet. It should be coming up though. It should be coming up, I promise. We got to measure the progress. So they need to be the ones to measure it, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to take my data independently. And then plan for reinforcements. Give the reward that are contingent on reaching the goal, but they give themselves the reward when teachers go, oh, check that out, code word, it's here. Dolphins, here it is. Dolphins, the reason I picked dolphins is that they're so smart. They're so smart, okay? So dolphins, taking it off in 3, 2, 1.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh,
write it down, take a note of it. We are not coming back to this code word.
Do you want me to type it in? Aha, thank you.
Nope, we're gonna keep moving.
Okay, we're gonna go right through it. All right, it's in the chat. All right, may I go forward?
Yeah, sorry, Vincent.
No, it's okay. They are so smart, Natalie. I'm telling you, that's why I picked them. Brainstorm your goal, guys. So when we talk to our students, right? So say we have a teenager, right? He understands or she understands, they understand the concepts. We'll talk more about this later. Let's see what they want. Don't be so complicated about it yet. This is where they come up with the idea, right? So we could provide examples of common goals because they might not know. Oh no, don't worry, see it is in the chats. It is, there we go. She got it. Thank you. Ask questions about their likes, their dislikes, their weaknesses, their strengths. Some of our students are very, very capable of this. Remember, we don't want to go in thinking that they're not capable of doing anything. All right. That's where like the stigma comes from. We don't want to think that they're incapable of anything. Give them the opportunity. Let them express themselves and be there to support them as best as possible. This helps us lead into a direction, right? You could jot down your ideas as a brainstorm. So when you're talking to them, you can write down, oh, these are some things that they like, some things that they don't like, and then you could give them some examples. So you could show them something like this. This is also part of the toolkit that I showed before of like the high independence, the high self-determination. So you could show them skills like, hey, these are some categories, right? Some daily living skills, some employment skills, some health skills, You could show them this. And okay. And you could show them this, and maybe they could just spark up some interest for them. And they're like, oh, you know what? That's a great goal that I would like to achieve. Okay. So again, this helps helping them understand how to set goals or start goals. So brainstorming the goal, there's a tool out there, especially for students who might not be able to verbally communicate much. There's something called the Adolescent Adult Goal Setting Tool. Has anybody ever heard of this? They provide like cue cards of like, yes, I already know this. No, I don't want to know this. So there's like cards. There's specific cards like, yes, no, I already know this skill, I don't want to know the skill. And then they have a bunch of skill cards, and then you put it on the yes if you want to do it, you can put on the no if you don't want to do it, you can put on the I already know how to do it, right? So it's a way for communication. It's a communicative tool, right? But there's more to it. Like they build upon like the skill, but at least that's like it helps you brainstorm the skill, right? It kind of like teaches people who might not have the verbal capacity to state it. So yeah. So once they have an idea of a direction, they could create a plan using the SMART method. Now, before I go, who has heard of the SMART method before? Who has ever used it before? Let's say who's ever heard of it. Has anybody ever heard of SMART? Yes. All right. Heard of it. Yes, excellent. Heard of it. Has anybody ever used it for themselves? A lot of BCBAs, how we write our goals kind of follows it, right? A lot of, yes, for myself and students. Excellent. I love to hear that. Great. In education, that's, yeah, really important. So, okay. So what do you think would be which is a better question, which question is better to ask? Do you have any goals, or what are some goals you have? Oh, look at you guys. Oh, I see 100%. What are some goals? Excellent. Yes. B, what are some goals that we have, right? It's very open-ended, right? So if we say, hey, do you have any goals? Yep. Okay. We just cut the fat out, right? What are some goals that you have? They might not know, and that's okay. But it's still a more important question to ask than, do you have any goals, right? Excellent. Open-ended questions are pretty good. These closed-ended questions. I'm gonna exit out of that. Okay. So because autistic students have, on average, more difficulty with executive functioning tasks such as managing time, all this stuff, you guys can read this. It is stated that SMART goals can be a powerful tool to help plan things and to check in. Okay, so this is the SMART method. Dun, 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 dun. I put my, I like that. Specific. So the S in SMART is specific. So you want to clearly state your goals. Measurable. The M is measurable. The goal should be something that could be measured. Attainable. Is this possible to reach this goal? Relevant, realistic, result focused. So we're going to say like realistic or relevant. Does this follow, right? Does this align with the values and the direction of your long-term goal? So if I say, hey, I want to lose weight, right? That's not very specific, but my plan is playing video games, right? I want to play video games. That's not relevant to me losing weight, right? So timely, clarify an end date for the goal. This is where time management comes in immensely, okay? So let's think about this. A student who typically types out 50 words per minute wants to learn to type more efficiently. Now, a good SMART goal would be, because efficiently, what does more efficiently mean? 51 words per minute, 52 words per minute. Is that where you want to be? No, we want to be very specific about it. So a good SMART goal would be, I will learn to type at 60 words per minute within 2 months, right? It's specific, at least 60 words per minute, right? This could be measured, right? You can measure this on a timer. You can measure this with online tests. So there's a way to see your data go up or down. So that's why the measurement part is very, very important. So I have a lot of my students who do want to learn how to type. We go on typing.com. It's free. You guys should utilize it. Just saying, teaching them how to type, and they could see their progress. There's a lot of games, but like say you do 1 minute tests, and then you practice a few things, and then next week you come take the 1 minute test again. It'll show you how many words per minute you use. So there's a measurable component there. I could see with my students, oh, we're doing something right. Let's continue doing this something. Or if it's going down, I'm like, let's figure something out to bring this up. Is it attainable? Yes. If they were doing like 2 words per minute, it might not be attainable, but they're already doing 50 words per minute. So 10 more is attainable. Is it relevant? Yes. Typing is a very important skill for skill and work. I don't know why I wrote for skill again. As a skill and for work, yes. And there is an end time. So you have 2 months, right? So at 2 months, you could check again, right? So is this a SMART goal? I want to get healthier by 2024. Is that a SMART goal? Let's see. Okay. It's a good goal, right? But it's a SMART goal. Okay. I'm just gonna, we'll scoot on. We're gonna scoot on. So it's not necessarily a SMART goal, because what does healthier mean? You know, what does healthier mean? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What do they think healthier means, right? So now what about this? Is this a SMART goal? Now this is the category. This is budgeting. Yes, need to be specific. There we go. Budgeting. Johnny works part-time at Shake Shack, and after paying expenses, he has $50 left over after every paycheck. He wants to start budgeting his money and saving, so he came up with the goal of, I will put $10 in my savings every Friday for the next 5 months. Is that a SMART goal? Now, when we teach our students, right, this, you see how I put in the corner, like the check boxes? When we run like trials with our students, like if I show this to a student, they might need a visual support for it. And this visual support in the corner could help aid them in like, oh, is this specific? $10. Yes, it is specific, right? In my savings, even more specific. Dollars is measurable. You could go online, you could, you could see how much you have. I used to work with my student, he wanted to save $100. And it was a permanent product, and I didn't really like looking at his money. I just trusted him on that one. But he put it in an envelope before he had a savings account. So we used to do an envelope system, and he used to get like allowance, and he used to put it in there. And then when he reached $100, he was able to buy something that he wanted for $100. I forgot what it was. But I didn't really care if he wanted to get whatever he wanted with it. It's his money, he saved it. And again, we wanted to make that a good experience. Hey, you saved $100? Perfect. You'll get whatever you want with your $100. So yes, and it's relevant because it's budgeting and it's time bound, right? Excellent. And it's attainable because he saves $50. He has $50 after all the expenses. Excellent, guys. Beautiful. 10 minutes. All right, guys. All right. So some teaching strategies, guys. We don't have to read all of this, I promise. But so you can use some teaching strategies to teach your students, your children, how to know these concepts, right? So pre-teaching. Some students might not reinforce them once they start getting correct what specific is, right?
Oh,
Same thing.
Vincent,
yes.
You cut out there briefly for a second if you want to just restart for a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me? It says my internet connection is unstable, but I see all bars. I don't get it.
Yeah, we can hear you now, but you just cut off just for a brief amount of time.
My apologies. So one teaching strategy for someone who might not understand this is pre-teaching. They might not know what a goal is. So teach them what a goal is. That's a good starting point. So say a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, teach them these things, right? Teach them what specific is, measurable, like all that stuff. That's the pre-teaching. So that allows us to go into the next thing. But if they don't know this, then we're not going to be able to teach the rest of it. Okay, so pre-teach them, teach them the concepts of the method. Then we have to discriminate. So now what we were going over before, right? Is this a SMART goal? Is this not a SMART goal? You can distinguish between what's correct and what's incorrect. And you can reinforce them however you want. I don't know what reinforcement strategies are in place or whatever you want. You can reinforce them on understanding the difference between what's incorrect and what's correct. Scaffolding and chaining. So this is what I do with my students. we break down the goals into like steps. So it's how to create the goal. So we break down the steps on how to create the goal. So we implement specific, then measurable, then attainable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We might do it backwards. It depends on the student that I'm working with. But you treat each part of the acronym as if it's its own goal. You role play, do discrete trial training or naturalistic teaching. So we could run like, hey, is this a SMART goal? Or hey, show me how to make this a SMART goal, right? So we can run multiple trials of, so before I work with my students, I might set up like a very vague goal and have them make it into a SMART goal. And then we run multiple trials. I don't really do like 10 in a row. We do like a little bit, like 2, and then we move on and then we come back. Again, it depends on the students. So you could do this multiple times. You could prompt them for support until they understand the concepts. And that's where prompt plus fading comes in. You help them as much as possible, and then you fade them. Okay, fade that support as much as they need, not as possible. So like the minimum that they need, and then fade it. And then generalization, maintenance, and self-management. So once they're independent in creating their goals in the session and in multiple settings, allow them to self-monitor, allow them to do it themselves, allow them to see like, oh, where am I? And that's where our job of the prompting and fading, so we can move into that self-monitoring. And then they provide their own reinforcement. We do not do that. Okay. You could also do behavioral skills training, which again, you have to know your students. If they understand the concepts, you just show them how to do this concept. So this is why we are creating the goal. This is how we create the goal. You show them how to create the goal. So like when I made it with my student, I made a goal. I was the one who was showing them how to make the goal, and I completed the steps myself. You rehearse with them. So like, all right, it's your turn. This is a good opportunity for you to shape their behavior. And then you provide feedback. So like, hey, next time try this. Is this specific? So that's like the behavioral skills training model. Okay. And then always reinforce, make it happen. Word number 2. Self-direction. Self-direction. If anybody wants to put it in the chat, it is self-direction. Okay. Should I move forward or self-direction? Bam. Thank you, Amanda. Self-direction. Amanda, hook this up. All right. Appreciate you. So we would practice with them, right? So with my student, I would say, all right, John knows and understands the meaning. Yes. Okay. John knows and understands the meaning of the vocabulary, but isn't sure how to implement the strategy or self-monitor. So what we would do is we'd show him the incorrect goal versus the SMART goal and explain why this follows the rules. So we have remember I showed you before the visual in the corner? We would go through the motions. All right, this is why it's specific. This is why, this is that. So I would tell John, hey, John, right? The vague goal is I want to eat better. Explain, John, what is better? This is not specific. There are no actionable steps. It can't be measured, and there's no time frame. Then you would present something that does follow it, right? So like, I will eat a cup of vegetables with at least 2 meals twice a week for the next month. And then you point out why this is specific, why this is measurable, why this is attainable, relevant, and all of this. So you would point this out, right? So, hey, John, this is how it is, right? This would be the instructional part of it. Okay, I know we're running out of time. And then you can practice with ABA. So real quick, I want you guys to help me out with this. You can run multiple trials with the student. So vague goal, I want to run faster. What you would have them do is like, have them create it. Depending on the student, you could prompt the support, provide the visuals. You can do the chaining, as I said before. So you can do the S, the M, the A, the R, and just have them fill out the time. Or you could have them fill out the specific, and then the M, and then you could do the M, the A, the R, and the T, and then have them gradually do the whole thing without your support. So how would you guys do something like that? I want to run faster. I want you guys to write down in there, how can we make that possible? And I will be rattling all this off. But the mastery is depending on the BCBA or the students. So it could be like 100% accuracy. I want to run, okay, a mile in 6 minutes. Get a baseline of the current rate. I like that, Catherine. So we got to make it attainable, right? So That makes sense. Mini goals. 100% of accuracy across 3 consecutive sessions with at least 5 trials per session. That's, I'm just saying, it depends on your assessment of the student. So as you said it before, get a baseline for the student. And then you continue until they're independent in understanding. Oh, Catherine, find a training app. I like it. So we're going back here. How can we make this a SMART goal? Someone who goes to the gym currently 1 time a week for 20 minutes for the past 6 months. Now, their statement is, I want to get healthier. How can we help them with that? What could be a SMART goal for that? I'll give you guys a moment of, I want to get healthier in 2024. Me too, by 2024. Me too. I will increase my gym time by 5 minutes each week for, 20 minutes, right? I mean, for like 2 months, right? Something like that. Because what we're doing is we're setting short-term goals to build on something long-term, such as getting healthier. We're kind of like making the student understand, like, oh, you're understanding what the short-term versus the long-term and how to set it up. And now taking data. How do we take data, right? We can run percentage correct. So if they're only specific, right? I want to budget better. So we give them, hey, this is a vague concept. I want to budget better. How can I be specific about it? A correct response would be, I will save $20. An incorrect response will say, I will save, right? If incorrect, you would prompt to add on, I will save what? $20, excellent. You could use visuals if needed. And once correct, just reinforce it. Excellent job, great job, da-da-da-da. Every trial you run, you can calculate the percentage of correct trials for each acronym, okay? Same thing with this, vague goal, I want to budget better. I will save $20 every paycheck. You could take, okay, they got it specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, but they're not time bound. So you would prompt them, hey, for how long? 2 months, 3 months, a year, yada, yada, yada. So you would help them out with that. But that's how you would take data. Oh, he's getting it at 80%, or she's getting it at 80%. Correct. Let me try to bring it up to 100, right? By getting the time bound. I don't want to run over too much. I will budget better. So again, a vague goal. So this backwards chaining. So you're giving everything to the students. I will save $20 every paycheck for 2 months. Excellent. Great job. You tell the student, great job. You can reinforce however they want. They can reinforce themselves, and then you fade it. And then every time it's like, I will save $20 every paycheck for 2 months. Excellent job. I mean, you don't want to use the same. So that's another thing. Do not use the same things over and over. Every time I do a session, I make sure that each of my vague goals are different each time. And then the naturalistic model. This is my favorite one. Once they're independent, each session, just have them do something for the session. I'll read 10 minutes independently by the end of the session. So I do it with them. I will not spend more than $10 when I go out to eat. If my student goes out and spends like $20 at like the burger spot, like maybe we can't do that. You can also take permanent product data on this, but have them reward themselves. So if they're studying, like, hey, I will spend 20 minutes on studying, and then I will watch my favorite YouTube shorts or whatever video that's like 5 minutes. Let them do it. Don't tell them to do it. Just 20 minutes. They set a timer. Perfect. I'm going. Let them do it. That's important. That's the independence level. So so here, this is like just one of the goals I have with my students. So we do set up short-term goals for the session. So I could add my prompt level is independent. He is at independent. And I could always add how many trials we do. It's recommended for 1 attempt, but we do multiple. So like the one before, like 10 minutes by the end of the session, I will read or I will draw because he wants to learn how to draw. So I'll learn how to draw. Okay. And then it's just good for your overall well-being and mental health. I do not want to go over, I promise. And then close out. Provide opportunities for the students to be independent as much as possible. SMART goals could be used when making goals for our students as providers and also tools in parent training. Be supportive, not overbearing. We want to protect our learners from problems, but sometimes they need to learn from failure. Support their goals and provide them with the help that they only when needed. Only when needed. If you feel like, let them ask if they need to. And remember, it's their goals, not ours. BCBAs create their own goals for our students throughout their youth and adolescence with collaborations from them, of course. Just let them create their own goals and support it. All right, fade, let them do everything independently so they can feel confident in their abilities to use this tool. Questions and answers. All right, Just made it 2
So
minutes
what we're
long.
gonna do is we are gonna take the questions that were in the Q&A. And then
Gotcha.
we are gonna send you an email and we're gonna have you answer these. And then we will be posting them on our social medias.
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. So if you